kind enough to hop on the Gizmo to talk with us today. Our buddy Lou Merloni. Hello, Lou. How are you?
I'm good, boys.
Hey.
How are you? Beautiful day today.
Oh, yeah, it's nice and warm, too. Lou, do you think you need a new open? Do you think we need to create a new open for you? Is Angry Lou... No, Greg, hear me out.
Fresh. Yeah, keep it
Hear
fresh.
me out. I feel like Angry Lou is dead.
Well, let's see. Give me a couple of months. Talk to me in February. See what happens this offseason.
So if nothing happens, so
run the open.
Run the old open.
There we go. Otherwise, we got to go to. Otherwise, you're Mr. Sunshine. You
Yeah.
know, if Montgomery comes here as a starter, would that make Lou Merloni happy? Type deal.
Yeah, it's cautiously optimistic. You know, and I know that the whole full throttle thing, right? Tom Warner had talked about, which is great, and I hope that I hope it happens. It's just that right now, there's more demand than there is supply. You know, with these starting pitchers, they're going to have to make a very uncomfortable signing to one of these arms because it's not just like you and St. Louis and San Fran and teams trying to get back to who they are. It's like teams like Atlanta that are loaded that want someone with Strider. It's the Dodgers. You know what I mean? It's like Texas Rangers who just won the World Series. Like, I don't know if you're Nola or Montgomery, would you go to the Braves? Would you go to the Dodgers? So they're going to have to compete and probably outspend and get a little uncomfortable.
So free agency has officially started, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so why? I mean, I know you compare it to other sports, right? And like things, free agency starts with football, bam, like guys are signing.
Yeah.
The whole legal tampering period. I'm assuming baseball doesn't have that. But why is this considered what you would think like a slow start to the free agency signing period?
No, this is like what it's become.
It's normal.
Here's the biggest difference is there's no salary cap in this league. You know, if you're in the NBA and you're the hot free agent, you're either going to sign a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal. And for the max, you already know what your contract is. You just pick where you want to go. You know, and you've been doing that for probably months heading into free agency. And in football, it's a predictable market. And there's a salary cap. So teams are trying to lock this up and find out where they're going. With baseball and no salary cap, the number one guy is Yamamoto. So he's going to post this 45 days. And no one's going to sign until he does. I'd love for him to lock up Nola and Montgomery, but I would fire my agent if I was one of those two before Yamamoto signed. Because whoever wants to dish out the highest price to him, whoever misses out, and it's going to be like 8 teams that miss out on him, they're going to turn around and give it to Nola. They're going to turn around and give it to Montgomery. So it's just the predictability in baseball is crazy. Look at Xander Bogaerts, for example. He was sitting at home trying to figure out which 6 or 7-year deal he wants to take. Right? If it's a 7-year deal, but do I really want to leave Boston for a 7-year deal? Maybe I'll go back for 6. And the Padres miss out on Turner and are like, we'll give you 11. And he's like, okay. And that is going to be the example that agents are going to sit there and say, hold on. When a team misses out on somebody, we're going to get you another year or 2 more money than you ever thought you were going to get. And it's going to happen.
So, Lou, do you think the market will be more reactionary to Yamamoto? Will that get it jump-started, or do you think it'll be Ohtani, or is Ohtani kind of a separate case, which is why the market might react more to Yamamoto?
Yeah, I think Ohtani's all by himself on an island. I think Yamamoto, because this free agency is really about starting pitching. There is a lot of it. There's different levels of it, but and I saw the other day, he's going to be posted. I'm like, oh, good, get the ball rolling. And then it's a 45-day window, and I'm thinking, well, that's January. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Because, again, if you're willing, he's going to be the highest priced one because he's 25 years old. There's going to be length on that. There's years. There's no compensation attached to him. And if you're these other guys, I don't know why you would sign before he does. Because if the Red Sox were willing to go to 250, 300 for Yamamoto, and they miss out, all of a sudden here comes Nola, here comes Montgomery, and it's like Snell, and these guys are going to get paid.
So you're officially out on the whole Ohtani signing for the Red Sox, right?
Yeah, I am.
But okay, so explain to me why.
Well, I would say this. Are you willing to the contract? I've seen 10, 500. Would you do that for a DH? And I think that's the way you have to look at it because hopefully he pitches in 2025. I personally think we haven't given him enough credit for what he has accomplished. I think we should just enjoy the last 3 years because I don't know if he's going to be able to do it again. Talking to starting pitchers and what it takes for those guys every 5th day to post, to get through 32 starts or 30 starts and be fresh at the end of the year, what they do for those 4 days in between is a lot. Now think about asking, okay, now pretend you're a hitter and you're in hitters meetings and you're hitting off a tee and you're lifting differently and you're doing all these other things you have to do every day. I don't think he can keep it up. I hope that he can. I don't see him doing it when he comes back from this Tommy John more than a year or two. I just don't. And I hope I'm wrong because it's fantastic to watch. But I don't think people realize physically what he goes through for 6 months, or his body does. And I just don't think he can keep it up. He's 30 years old.
Lou, can Ohtani play left? I mean,
Sure,
I know.
play right.
Well, but I know that like as a rookie they used him in the outfield or whatever, and I've always been told that you got to have somebody you need a good fielder in right field, and you need somebody with a hell of an arm. But in left field near the wall, if you want to hide somebody that might not be great defensively, couldn't Ohtani be that, where he can hit the ball out of the ballpark 40, 45 times every year and put him in left field and then figure out the pitching piece if the Red Sox really wanted to?
Yeah, but honestly, I think he'd be gold glove and right if he's out there every day.
Okay.
First off, with his arm and his speed. I mean, he is a freak,
So you think he could play right field in Fenway?
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. Then that makes him a $40 million a year player, doesn't it?
It might. Yeah. I mean, it does. I mean, if that was the whole thing, if it was sort of like if you are just a hitter, and we focus on you playing right field, I mean, let's not forget about it. He's still an MVP caliber offensive player.
Right.
So he is. It's just, what am I going to, pretend what you would give a guy, to be your everyday right field, an MVP candidate. And trust me, if they sign him tomorrow, I'm not going to cry about it.
Of course not.
But it's like, but is it 12 years, 550, 600? Like I've seen some of the people, what they're thinking about, like what he's going to make. And I'm like, I just envision him as that right there. Can he be my right fielder, hit fourth for me, be a gold glover? And the pitching aspect of it, if it happens, it happens. I just hope he doesn't miss time because the elbow goes again.
Lou Merloni with us. Lou, do you think the Red Sox, in terms of, at one point in time, David Ortiz was the highest paid DH in the game and was paid at the level he should have been, even though he was, quote unquote, just a DH?
Yeah.
Do you think there might be a little bit of a shift in organizational philosophy? I know that Ortiz was the owner's favorite player, but do you think that maybe from a philosophical standpoint, there might be some, evolving thoughts on boy, I'd really like to have the guy, but the days of us having the highest paid just designated hitter are done here?
Well, I think, first off, it has a lot to do with your roster and how it's set up. This roster here, you'd like to get some guys out of the field, because defensively, there's some impact guys that could DH that have been liabilities in the past, and we'll see how they are defensively. But if the reason why David Ortiz worked here is because he's David freaking Ortiz, and there's a reason why like Tampa would rotate because they don't have a David Ortiz, or other teams. Like if you had a guy that hit 300, 30, 35, I don't think you'd have a problem at all having just a designated hitter. It's just that those guys don't really come around too often, and if they can play solid defense somewhere, they're maybe more valuable. So if your roster, if you're a solid defensive baseball team and you find a thumper, you're like, yeah, I'll put him right in the middle of that lineup and I'll just let him DH all day long. It's just this roster here, I just believe that you kind of would like to get Yoshida out of left, maybe play him 60, 65, 70 games. You can give, if when Devers starts making a couple errors in a row, get him off of third base for like 3 or 4 or 5 days, clear his head because that kind of snowballs on him. And then you just sort of see where Casas is defensively. He's young. He can always improve as well.
So before we get to the Red Sox and the moves they've made or the ones that they haven't quite made yet, one of the things about Ohtani that I thought was interesting is it has been sourced or rumored that any team that he's talking to or dealing with, if any news of his negotiations with that team is, released in some way or form, they're going to pay a price for it, or he's going to hold it against them. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I just think that's a culture thing, and I think we talked about it before, talking about possibly trading Yoshida. I don't think that would go over well in Japan. I think that's disrespectful, signing a guy, having him choose your team, and then trading him. I think that's how it would be viewed, and I think this is just similar to as well. Like spending, like when I was over in Japan, like it's a lot about respect, and I don't know if it's viewed as disrespect, like discussing it, and he just wants to do it quietly and sign his team and move on, things like that. So I don't know where this goes, with Ohtani. I have a hard time believing he leaves L.A. in a different division, though. I just have a hard time because he's very comfortable in L.A. It's on the West Coast. I just don't know how he doesn't sign with the Dodgers. We'll see how this whole thing unfolds.
Do you, a pure guess, I understand. I know you're not a GM, you're not an insider or anything like that. Do you think this will be an active offseason for trades, given something that you said earlier, Lou, which was a lot of free agency this year is really about the starting pitching? Will we see a lot of trading going on so that people can fill out parts of their lineup?
I do, but I also think that will come after like the 3 or 4 big dogs come off the table. You know, like I don't think the Rays are going to trade Tyler Glasnow until they know who's desperate, who missed out on everybody, and then they can get the best offer, right? Whether it's Dylan Cease as well, whoever those arms, whether it's Seattle, if they think of trading a guy, or if Miami does it again. Like, you want to find the team that missed out on all these guys who's desperate, you know, and you could be one of them. Not that Glasnow's going to come here, because I don't think they'd ever do that. So, and I do think the Sox will be active. I mean, you know, heard Craig Breslow talk about it. I've heard Sam Kennedy talk about it. I've heard Tom Warner talking about trades. So it's quite evident that one of the things they discussed was, you know, the issue, and I still think that's what did him in. Like Chaim Bloom, they didn't have confidence in him trading some of these guys, and that's a big thing with Breslow. Like, we need to make some of these trades and improve our roster.
So, Lou, we were yesterday we were talking about the, I guess it would be the request from Major League Baseball to shave some seconds off the pitch clock with runners on base,
Yep.
right? So we wanted to go to like 18 or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but not touch the pitch clock with no runners on base. Just your general thoughts about that. Are they trying too hard, or should they just leave it alone?
No, I don't mind it. I think the players will adjust. I know the players talk a lot about injuries. You know, I don't personally, I mean, I don't have any proof. I don't think it's the pitch clock. I think it has more to do with, you know, these pitching labs that everybody's involved in, like this drive line where people go. And you know, you're a 28-year-old guy, and now you don't throw a changeup, you throw a split. They don't got you ever throwing a slider anymore, you throw a sweeper. You know, and all this biomechanics, everyone's trying to have you pronate and supinate, you know, your wrist more to get better action and better pitch, you know, like feel or whatever it may be, or different angles on your pitches. And I think when you do that, you put a lot of stress in your elbow. I think that is where all the elbow issues are coming into play. So I don't think going down to 17, 18 seconds will be that big of a deal. I find it interesting that the study shows that most pitchers with guys on base deliver the ball with like 13 seconds. So moving it down to 18, I don't understand how that shaves time if most pitchers are already delivering it in 13 seconds. But whatever, that's not for me to figure out. They'll adjust. It's just a back and forth.
I saw one of the things is like, so Major League Baseball, so the players are like, all right, fine, we'll give you those 2 seconds, but we want more time, you know, with runners off, with no runners on. So they want to like kind of like somehow basically just move the chairs on the Titanic, right? Like, oh, we'll give you that, but you got to give it back to us on the front end.
Just back and forth bitching. You know, to be honest with you, they really should have just put it universally at 20 seconds, because that's what the guys want. They don't want 15 with nobody on. 20. They want a routine. So you should have put it at 20. And then you should have came out and said, we're going to 18.
Yeah.
And leave it at 18. You know, it's a weird number. So be it. Whatever. You know, but like a different time with the guys on. The bottom line is, guys, they started to figure it out. That's why the games went a little bit longer. How many of those, you know, pitch comm? Oh, it's broken. Oh, my pitch comm's broken. No, it's not. God, you're just wasting time. They started figuring it out. They started taking a little bit more time.
Like a little
using
loophole.
the clock more. Yeah, they started figuring it out a little bit more. That's why it went. But you know what? 2:45. I'll take 2:45. You just don't give me 3:30.
Yeah, and Lou, I'm with you. And to think that, oh my God, games got a little longer as they became more important. Okay, that sounds reasonable.
What's wrong with that?
I'm totally with you on that. I don't know. Like that made sense, hearing that the games were longer as they got more important. Lou, there are a couple of guys that are arbitration eligible, and I know tonight is the deadline.
Yeah.
Should I just assume, because of the way the draft pick compensation works, you got to tender somebody to be able to get the pick, and it's Verdugo, Pivetta, Luis Urias, Reese McGuire, John Schreiber. I'm assuming these are people that the Red Sox either want something for or would want to be in business with. Is it as simple as they're going to tender everybody because it's the easiest thing to do to maintain leverage, control, yada, yada?
Well, as far as the draft pick goes, that's more of a qualifying offer thing. And there was like 7 guys, like the big free agents, right? Like the 7 guys that turned down $22 million.
Okay.
Franchise tag. This year is just, you know, it's more about price. It's like some of it, like, yeah, we're going to tender this guy, you know, because we just like him. I think Schreiber's going to be part of the mix. Some of these guys that they have, I think McGuire will be part of the mix as well. You still got lefty-righty until the kid Teal is ready, and then you move forward with Wong and Teal in the minor leagues. Well, but somebody like Arias that, was like the big trade deadline pickup.
4.7 million, I think, on the tender it is.
Like I don't know. Do you want to pay the guy 4.7 to give him another look? Like, to me, offensively, there was some stuff there. Defensively, I don't think he showed as advertised. So you got other options. The idea is to find a real starting second baseman, and the other guys are just depth. So he would probably be the one guy that I'd be surprised if they tendered.
Pavetta at 6'9", you're tendering him, right?
Yeah, and I tell you, I'm putting him in the rotation too. Like at 6.9. Like
really?
He changed. I know a lot of people, maybe if they tuned out or whatever it may be, but he's just a different guy now. Like, he's just a different, like, he added a slider, which was a swing and miss. He was always north-south. He became a little more east-west in how he attacked pitchers, but he's the one guy going in the last year that I felt could give you 160 innings. Now, he got bombed in April, and they should have taken his ass out of there, but he fixed things, and you give him credit for it. Like, he's a guy like him right now, he and Bayo, like, I feel like are going to give you 160 innings, and I think that's important.
Speaking of pitching, Andrew Bailey, new pitching coach.
Yeah.
You know anything about him? I mean, connected to Breslow in some way?
Yeah, I mean, he was here in 13. They were teammates in Oakland as well, and he's one of the board members.
Did he go to Yale?
Breslow? No, I don't think he did.
Look at that, a commoner.
Yeah, and he's like a board member on like Breslow's foundations. These guys are really close. They live near each other in Connecticut. The thing with Bailey is, he's been in San Fran for 4 years. And this year, Logan Webb, Cy Young candidate. Carlos Rodon turned his career around, got a huge deal. Kevin Gossman turned his career around, got a huge deal in Toronto. And we can talk about free agents because they need them. But really, what Breslow was bringing, and hopefully Andrew Bailey as well, your own guys need to improve. Like, your own guys need to take the next step. Whether they think with the stuff can be a starter, or your own, like Bayo has to take another step. Like, your minor league arms have to take another step. So there is two parts of it, right? Like, I love what they got going on down in Tampa. That's what you want. Like, everybody sucks. They go to Tampa, and then they're lights out. I saw Jeffrey Springs here in Boston. He goes to Tampa, and he's one of the better pitchers in the game. Like, you want that little secret sauce they got going on. Because not just for free agents, you need better arms coming externally, but internally, you got to improve the stuff that you have. Bailey has done that for 4 years with some of the better arms in baseball, and Breslow's done it in Chicago.
Well, there you go. Our breakdown from our guy, Lou Merloni.
Wow, it's
awesome.
A lot of information.
This was good stuff. We needed this. We
Yeah.
needed
bye week.
Yeah.
Well, what do you got going on this weekend, Lou? You got a big party, couple functions to go to, maybe some golf. What's your weekend hold for you?
Well, I got a little party tonight for our club baseball team, Northeast Lions. We got
Okay.
that going on tonight. Tomorrow night, my wife and I are watching the grandkids.
Whoa!
So
what does
on.
that look like? What is Lou Merloni watching babysitting the two grandkids? Isn't it nuts? He's a grandfather.
How old does Lou sound
Oh
right
my
there?
God, ancient! If he is, he's
Hey.
so older than me.
Hey, Lou, do you want to call me for some advice?
I tell you what, there is
Oh,
nothing
my
better
God.
than having a little 2- and 5-year-old running around that aren't yours that you can just send home.
Man,
It is nice.
you get a little
And they go
taste.
to bed early, which is really quality.
yeah.
Okay.
There's a Lanny kid we can throw in there
Oh,
if you
that's
want
right.
to give Billy a night off. You know what I mean? Little Benny. Oh, my God. Well, that's awesome, Lou. Hey, brother, if we don't catch up with you, have a great Thanksgiving, and I'm sure we'll be bumping into you around here during the month of December. At
Yeah,
least
we'll
hope
talk to you
so.
guys soon. Have a great
All
Thanksgiving.
right,
buddy.
bud, you
Thanks.
too. We love our guy, Lou Merloni, with us on the Harbor One Hotline.